Welcome back to the deep dive, where we take these really complex fields and try to distill them into the most powerful and immediate insights. Today, we are strapping into the driver's seat of the transport and logistics industry. And I've got to say, before diving into these sources, I really thought transport was simple. You pick something up, you drop it off.
How hard can it be?
Exactly. But the sources we've gathered, they just opened my eyes to this incredible financial and operational tightrope walk that's involved.
It is so complex.
Running a successful transport business means navigating these fluctuating costs, huge asset management challenges, and just the constant crushing pressure of delivery windows. So what's our mission for this deep dive? We've looked at articles, industry reports, and proprietary consulting notes, all to build this vital diagnostic framework for business health. We're looking for the 7 sneaky, quiet signs that a transport business is heading towards a crisis, long before it becomes a big public failure. We want to give you that blueprint for preventative action.
And that early recognition is it's absolutely key. And here's why. Our sources all confirm that failure, it almost never hits you like a lightning strike.
It's slow.
It is. The financial strain, the operational pressure, market changes. They build up slowly, kind of like rust underneath the paint. And if you can spot these signals when they're still subtle...
When you still have room to breathe.
Exactly. When you have that room, you can stabilize performance, you can regain control, and most importantly, you can protect your core profitability before you're in a situation where you need impossible emergency debt.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've organized what we found into 7 major warning indicators across 3 really critical areas. Finance, operations, and of course, personnel.
The human side.
Yeah, think of this as the complete dashboard that tells you your business needs immediate attention. So let's jump right into the financial indicators, because this is where the pressure really starts to show.
It's always about the cash.
Indicator number 1, cash flow tightness. Now, this is the classic trap, isn't it? Especially in these asset-heavy industries. A business can look profitable on the income statement.
On paper, yeah.
On paper, that long-term view, but it can still run out of immediate working capital because the timing is just completely off. But I have to ask, doesn't every transport business run on razor-thin cash flow? Where's the line between normal stress and, critical tightness?
That's the critical distinction right there. So normal stress means your planning is tight, but it's manageable. Critical tightness is signaled by behavioral changes.
Okay.
When your month end becomes a consistent, desperate scramble, that is a definitive warning. It means your expense timing, your revenue collections, your operational costs, they're just fundamentally broken.
So what are those behaviors? What should you be looking for?
Well, you need to track specific things that signal management panic. For instance, are you consistently having to delay paying essential service providers? I'm talking about diesel vendors, tire providers, your tracking companies.
The lifelines of the business.
Yeah. They are the absolute lifelines. And have you started really relying on your overdraft or other short-term facilities just to make weekly payments? Even more critically, are you in constant negotiations with suppliers for extended terms? Or worse, are there whispers among staff or drivers about payroll being delayed?
That juggling act. It's not just exhausting, it must consume all the management time that should be spent on strategy.
It does.
If I'm the owner and I'm spending 2 hours every Monday trying to decide who gets paid first, the vendor or the taxman, that panic itself is the warning signal.
Absolutely. That decision to prioritize who gets paid, it's a decision made out of necessity, not strategy.
Yeah.
And it is so destructive.
Which brings us straight to indicator number 2. Operating costs increasing without clear visibility. We all know costs fluctuate fuel prices, parts, especially now.
Of course.
But if your costs are increasing without a clear explanation, when all those external factors are stable, that points to a deeper systemic problem. It's about poor control.
It is the silent killer. Our sources repeatedly point to the danger of this cost creep. While fuel is the huge, obvious factor, right, the unexplained cost increase, it often comes from internal inefficiencies that you just miss when you're only looking at the aggregate P&L.
And what are those? What are the culprits?
Well, they're often pretty insidious. It could be poor maintenance scheduling that forces you into expensive reactive breakdown fixes.
Right.
tire misuse or wear that isn't properly monitored by your systems, or just inefficient routing empty backhauls that unnecessarily ramp up your tolls and your fuel consumption.
Can you maybe quantify that inefficiency? We need something really concrete that will stick with our listeners.
Sure. So one detailed analysis we reviewed showed that a consistent 5% increase in just unexplained tire wear, maybe from poor inflation checks or driver harshness, that often correlates directly with a 15% rise in non-recoverable warranty and insurance costs across the entire fleet over about 18 months. That small, persistent bleed, disguised across dozens of invoices, that is money just evaporating without a trace. It's what makes your margins vanish.
That makes the cost issue feel so much more tangible. Okay, before we leave the internal financials, let's look outward. Indicator number 5 is actually the market's perception of your stress, and it shows up as tightening credit terms and increased supplier pressure.
Interpreting this sign is absolutely critical. Your suppliers are often the most accurate external predictor of business failure
Why is that?
because they rely on broad industry data and their own payment history with you. When your essential suppliers, the ones who need you to stay in business, start reducing credit limits or demanding personal guarantees or switching you to upfront payment, they are signaling that your perceived risk is spiking. Big time.
So what are the concrete examples there?
You should look for things like, has your high-volume diesel account been capped or suspended out of the blue? Are independent workshops refusing to release your vehicles until they get full payment, which just stops your recovery cold? Or are finance providers suddenly declining facilities you used to access easily? Or demanding collateral they didn't require last year? It all means one thing. Supplier confidence has been lost.
And that is an expensive loss.
It's so expensive because while that confidence can be lost quietly in just a single delayed payment, it is always regained slowly. It often requires months of transparent, on-time commitment to build it back.
Okay, let's pivot to the operations side of things, because this is where the rubber meets the road, literally. Indicator number 3 is frequent breakdowns and downtime. This is where those rising costs slam right into your revenue stream and create this nasty feedback loop that just drains cash.
This is where we shift from expense management to actual revenue destruction. A breakdown is never just a mechanical issue. It is a direct hit on your revenue capacity.
So that truck sitting on the side of the road.
That truck sitting idle is not just costing you the repair bill and the towing fee. It's costing you the loads it should have been carrying that day, tomorrow, and potentially the day after that.
The ripple effect must be huge.
Oh, the operational consequences are rapid and they are severe. You get delayed or canceled loads, emergency repairs that cost a premium because they're after hours or in remote locations, and a very rapid decline in customer trust. And critically, your overall fleet utilization metric just drops dramatically.
You mentioned utilization. Wait, what does that drop actually mean financially for someone listening?
It's the engine of your profit. Utilization measures the percentage of time your assets are productive versus sitting idle. Our sources highlight a really stark reality here. A single unexpected breakdown on a key, long-haul, high-margin route that can knock your overall utilization down by 2 or 3 points for the week.
And that 2% isn't just a number on a spreadsheet.
Not at all. That 2% drop often represents the entire lost margin on 5 subsequent loads that you then had to turn away or subcontract out at a loss. An unreliable fleet destroys cash flow, especially if your trucks are spending more time in the workshop than on the road generating revenue.
And I guess when that operational strain gets bad enough, it starts showing up publicly. That brings us to indicator number 6, rising customer complaints and service issues. This is where your internal lack of control becomes your client's problem.
That's it, exactly. That operational strain, it translates directly into clear service fallout. You start missing committed delivery deadlines. You have last-minute route changes because a critical truck broke down. You get slow turnaround times at loading docks because of chaotic scheduling, which leads to driver fatigue and, of course, client dissatisfaction.
And what's interesting is how customers react to that.
Well, what's fascinating here is the psychology of it. Clients don't usually leave over a single isolated mistake. I mean, those happen in any industry.
Yeah.
They shift their load volumes to competitors because of patterns of inconsistency.
Or if it's the pattern.
They start losing faith that you can deliver reliably. And once that pattern is established, those customers just walk away. Losing a major client based on operational inconsistency is proof that your internal strain has reached, well, terminal velocity.
Let's move to the human side, which is so often overlooked until it's way too late. Indicator number 4. Driver turnover increases or morale drops. Experienced drivers are just so valuable. They know the routes, they respect the equipment.
They're incredibly difficult and expensive to replace.
Yeah, and high driver turnover, it must signal deep systemic issues within management and operations.
It does. Drivers are usually the first to feel that financial strain and the operational chaos. And why do they leave? It's usually delayed or inaccurate payments, poor communication from dispatch, highly unstructured operations,
What do you mean by that?
like inconsistent loading times or just a lack of systems and support that make their already high-stress job unnecessarily difficult.
So bad management creates a recruitment nightmare, but how does that low morale immediately hit the business ledger?
Oh, low morale isn't some soft metric. It directly increases your hard costs. Frustrated drivers, they cut corners, accident rates go up, which spikes your insurance premiums and maintenance costs. Productivity declines because they're less motivated, less careful with fuel and equipment. And crucially, those frustrated drivers are the first interaction your customers have. The low morale directly impacts service quality and customer perception, which feeds right back into indicator 6.
It's all connected. Okay, finally, let's look at the ultimate management symptom, indicator number 7. The business operates in crisis mode every single week. This isn't a strategy, it's just a constant state of survival, and it has to be exhausting for everyone.
Firefighting mode is the perfect term for it. When management is stuck in this loop, strategic focus is completely abandoned. There's no time to think ahead.
You can't.
Every single day is just spent putting out the most urgent, immediate fires chasing parts, moving funds, apologizing to clients. It's chaos.
And the specific signs of that crisis mode.
They're very clear. Decisions are being made under extreme pressure in the heat of the moment rather than by calmly analyzing data. You have no forward view of your maintenance schedules, which often leads to mandatory safety inspections being skipped or ignored.
That's dangerous.
It's incredibly dangerous. And you have limited visibility on profitability per load or even per asset. As one management consultant we read put it, he said, if the CEO is managing payroll disputes instead of forecasting next quarter's maintenance budget, they're not running a business, they're running a casualty ward.
That's a powerful quote.
It is. Ultimately, transport businesses that operate purely reactively will eventually burn out, both operationally and financially.
So what does this all mean for the listener who's starting to see these symptoms in their own operation? If we boil all this down, what is the single most immediate threat that acting early helps you avoid? Is it your cash or is it your reputation?
It's the cash flow collapse, immediately followed by the loss of supplier support. You can apologize for a late delivery, but if you can't fuel your trucks, the business stops instantly.
They'll stop.
Early detection prevents those major failures we talked about. The cash flow collapse, the complete loss of supplier support, devastating fleet downtime, and falling into that unsustainable high-interest debt just to keep the lights on.
So where do you start?
Stabilization starts with one word: clarity. You have to know precisely what works, what doesn't, and what needs your immediate attention. You just can't fix what you can't measure. Getting control means switching from that reactive thinking, which is always expensive, to proactive, data-driven decisions.
Okay, so if someone listening is familiar with these signs, they need concrete steps to start a turnaround right now. Our sources lay out 5 focus areas to immediately stop the blade and start rebuilding. Let's dive into those, starting with profitability tracking. But wait, isn't tracking profitability just standard accounting? Why is tracking per asset so different from the overall balance sheet?
That's a crucial question. Standard accounting gives you that macro view. Your company made money or lost money this month. Profitability tracking per asset is micro. It drills down to every single truck, every client contract, every common route.
So you're tracking everything.
Everything. Tolls, maintenance consumption, fuel burn, specific driver wage costs. All against the revenue generated by that specific asset on that specific run. In a crisis, you often discover that maybe 20% of your fleet is generating 80% of your profit.
And the other 80%?
The other 80% of your fleet is actively draining your reserves. You have to identify and eliminate those loss-making assets instantly. That is step 1.
Understood. Okay, step 2 focuses on cost control. How do you implement strengthened maintenance planning when you've been firefighting for 6 months straight?
You have to impose discipline immediately. Strengthened maintenance planning means switching from fixing things when they break to fixing them before they break.
Proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. This means a fixed, non-negotiable schedule for preventative maintenance based on mileage or hours, rather than waiting for a failure light. The immediate win comes from rigorous control over your stock, parts purchases, and eliminating those expensive premium rates that come with emergency service calls. It directly reduces the frequency of those indicator 3 incidents.
Right. Moving to step 3, structured cash flow forecasting. Now, this sounds complicated, but in a crisis, how far out do you really need to look?
You need a view of the next 6 weeks, not just the next 6 days. Structured cash flow means building a reliable model that projects all your known incoming payments and all your fixed and variable outgoing payments.
And what does that give you?
It allows you to identify exactly when the next cash pinch point will occur, say 2 weeks from now, giving you time to actively chase outstanding invoices or negotiate proactively instead of being surprised by a short balance on a Friday afternoon.
That eliminates the juggling act we talked about earlier.
Okay.
Step 4 addresses the chaos, establishing clear operational roles, targets, and accountability.
This directly tackles the root cause of high driver turnover and that crisis mode. Chaos just breeds inefficiency. Every person needs a clear job description, and every truck needs a clear process.
What does that look like in practice?
It means documented, consistent loading and unloading protocols, a defined dispatch system that communicates clearly, and accountability metrics for things like load security and fuel efficiency. You stop relying on verbal instruction and start relying on repeatable systems.
And finally, step 5, rebuilding supplier confidence. We said earlier that suppliers are often the first to pull the plug. How on earth do you win them back?
Transparency and consistency. You cannot bluff your way back from this. You need to be honest about the business's position, present your new structured payment plan based on your improved cash flow forecast, and then you execute on that plan with extreme rigor.
So you start small.
You start with small, consistent, guaranteed payments that show you're prioritizing them, even if you can't pay the full outstanding balance immediately. Rebuilding that trust takes time, but it absolutely starts with honoring the small commitments.
That reinforcement point is so crucial. You don't need some huge revolutionary change overnight. It's about small, consistent changes applied rigorously and based on the data you got from steps 1 through 3. That's how you compound small victories into a meaningful turnaround and regain control of your business's trajectory. This has been an incredibly thorough deep dive into the internal diagnostics of a transport business. Whether you are running one or advising one, understanding these 7 indicators really provides an indispensable shortcut to knowing where to focus your effort, your capital, and your precious time.
And here's where it gets really interesting and something really fundamental for you to consider. Transport businesses do not fail suddenly. They fail gradually through ignored signals. Recognizing these operational, personnel, and financial signals early, it isn't just about surviving the next month. It is the opportunity to stop the operational bleed, regain control, and strategically position the business for sustainable growth rather than just perpetual crisis.
Exactly. Don't wait for the crisis. Read the signals. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the operational heart of logistics. We'll see you next time.